What's going on, you guys? Welcome and welcome back to Kingdom Animalia. Here we are welcoming me and HP, my bearded dragon, who the camera never wants to focus on. Let's see if we can fix that. There you go. Now you guys get a better look at him. Alright, cool. So, in today's video, in case you didn't read the title, I'm going to be showing you guys, telling you guys what animals I would suggest for you, or what reptiles I would suggest for you, rather, based off of your personality or your character. Alright, let's get into it. Cue the intro. Alright, first things first. Who are you? How much time do you have in the day? How much do you like animals? Are you getting an animal for yourself? Are you getting an animal for a friend? Are you getting an animal for a child? You have to take into consideration who you are, who the person you're getting the animal for is, how much time they have on their hands, how much they would want to work with the animal, how much they would want to care for it, how much money they have. These are all things you want to think about prior to getting an animal. So, if you are a person with an active personality, we're actually welcoming AJ now, by the way. HP didn't seem to want to be bothered right now. He was a little upsetty spaghetti, so I left him alone. I respect the animals out here. Anyway, so, as I was saying, if you're someone with an active personality, and say you have a nice amount of time on your hands and you're financially stable, which you should be if you're getting any reptile, but say you're financially inclined, like say you have a little bit more money than, other people, I would suggest a lizard of some kind. Now, the reason that I suggest lizards are because most lizards are very fitting for an active person, because a lot of lizards are active. With snakes, they're kind of going to be sitting around. With like turtles and things like that, turtles are kind of going to also sit around. Like, they like to bask, and when they do swim, they need a lot of space. They're not something that you can interact with much. Technically they are, but kind of gonna leave them in the tank most of the time. Tortoises, you can interact with pretty well as to go with that. But I just say a lizard would be most ideal for you. Now, some examples of lizards would be like leopard geckos, tegus, crested geckos, gargoyle geckos, savannah monitors, Nile monitors, crocodile monitors. The list goes on. There's an infinite list of lizards, to be honest with you. But I say, if you're an active person, you have an active lifestyle, you have the money to be able to provide them with bugs consistently, or say, vegetables or fruits consistently, depending on what lizard you're looking to get. If you can afford all of that, to make sure that you have it regularly, if you can pay attention to them, make sure that you're spending time with them, because a lot of lizards are very interactive, especially since they're very smart. A lot of bearded dragons, they love to interact with their owner. A lot of monitors, they're also another very smart kind of lizard, and they love to be around their owner. They love to hang out, spend time, do like little puzzles. Lizards are going to be very active. They're always doing something. I'm saying that as a lizard sits on my shoulder and does nothing, but they're pretty much always active. Like, they're very fitting for active people, because they're not going to be bored. They're going to be walking around. They're going to be, if you have like a monitor, they're going to be like flicking their tongue. They're usually very enthusiastic to eat. So yeah, if you're an active person, in short, I'd say, God, you should get a lizard. Now, if you are a person who is very forgetful, right? If you're a person who doesn't have that much time on their hands, if you're a person who has enough money to take care of an animal, but maybe not enough to like feed it every day or feed it every other day or consistently buy bugs, consistently buy vegetables and fruits, things like that. If you're a bit forgetful, or if you're very busy, I would suggest a snake. Now, the reason I would suggest a snake would be because snakes don't require too much attention. Now, with snakes, you kind of just let them do what they want to do while they're in your care. Snakes aren't too busy. They're not very active. There are snakes that are, like garter snakes. Garter snakes are a very active snake. Um, there are a bunch of snakes that are just very active. But they can be active in the enclosure. Snakes, in my opinion, aren't the kind of animal that will be yearning for your attention. Now, there are some that do. Boa constrictors tend to like attention. There are other snakes that tend to like attention, cobras and things like that. But I would say that they don't really demand it. Like a lizard is going to sit there and it's going to be upset sometimes if you haven't interacted with it. A snake is going to be like, he likes me today, he doesn't like me today, it is what it is. Like, they're not going to stress about it because I don't know why. I just feel like snakes are a kind of reptile that tolerates you more than, like, love you, if that makes sense. Yeah. So, and then not only that, but snakes aren't an animal that you have to feed every single day. They're not an animal that you have to feed every other day. They're not an animal that you have to feed every 3 days, unless maybe you have a baby, in which case you can feed them about twice a week. They usually eat once a week. The bigger the snake, the longer the time difference is between, well, 9 times out of 10, the bigger the snake, the longer the distance is between feedings. So some snakes get fed once a week, some get fed twice a week, some get fed once a month. It all depends on what snake you have. However, it's a lot easier to just be like, okay, every Monday I'm going to do XYZ. Every Tuesday I'm going to XYZ. I'm going to feed them or something like that. They don't create large amounts of mess. Actually, I don't know why I didn't think about this. Let me grab a snake while I'm talking about snakes. Like, come on, man. All right, here's JP. He's my ball python. He seemed like he wanted to come out because I mentioned taking out a snake and he flipped over the water bowl. So hey, I took it as a message. As I was saying, snakes don't desire your attention. They don't require too much care. You make sure they have fresh water. They poop in the enclosure about once a week, about as often as you feed them, pretty much. So if you feed them every 3 days or so, they'll poop every like 3-4 days. Like, it's usually how it works. If you feed them once a week, they'll poop within the next week usually. Like, it goes according to what you feed because they're pooping out what you fed them. Like, come on. Right? So, but they're very, very easy to take. They are very, very easy to take care of. With snakes, you don't have as much to worry about. Most of them are going to be pretty hardy. If you forgot a feeding day, you can feed them the next day. I recommend that you stay with a pattern because snakes do notice patterns. They are also smart. Just maybe not as smart as monitors. Yeah. So if you have a lifestyle that is very forgetful, or even if you are like lazy and you don't want to get up and do certain things, it's one thing to do it every other day and another thing to do it once a week. Whenever you want to take out a snake, chances are, if it's not in shed or something, it's not going to give you a hard time. There are snakes that you will have to work with. Say like boa constrictors, especially when they're young, they tend to be feisty. It all just depends on what you're trying to get. But there you go, snakes for the lazy. I was gonna stop the video. I don't know why. I don't know. I wasn't finished. Now, we also have HP was moving. Well, he still is moving. So for somebody who's kind of like in the middle, say you don't want a snake, you don't want a lizard, or maybe you do, and it's just you're trying to find other options. Say you have time, you have the money, you have space, things like that. I would suggest a tortoise, not a turtle, a tortoise, because tortoises are another animal that they are very interactive. However, they don't really have to be. So if you don't like hang out with them every day or every other day, they won't be too bad. Um, they're another animal that's very welcoming towards affection and things like that. Um, they're a lot more friendly than turtles in my experience. Tortoises usually don't care what you do. Touch them, sit on them, don't sit on them. Some people do, but don't sit on them. Touch them, sit on them, whatever. Whatever you want to do with the tortoise, do it. Moving on. So, yeah, there you go. With tortoises, you're able to do a lot of things. However, tortoises usually require a lot of space. So if space isn't a problem for you, then cool. If money isn't a problem for you, then cool. Because tortoises, because they require so much space, depending on what tortoise you get, some of them will need you to build an enclosure. Some of them will need your backyard. Like it depends on what you're getting, how many you're getting, so on and so forth. They also eat fruits and vegetables throughout the day. There are a few that'll eat like mealworms and things like that, but primarily fruits and vegetables throughout the day. I'm not sure what a tortoise's feeding schedule is, but you do feed them pretty consistently. Now, with tortoises, you just have to make sure, like, the fresh water, don't fill it up too high, make sure they have a lot of space, make sure you feed them fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. As long as all that's going on, you'll have a nice, healthy, happy lizard. They also require lighting, so there's that. With snakes, there are plenty of snakes that don't require lighting. With lizards, there are plenty of lizards that don't require lighting, if that's just something you wanted to get around. Yeah, so that's it for turtles. Now, tortoises, come on, what is going on? Now, for turtles, because that was the last of this list, pretty much. There was snakes, lizards, tortoises, turtles. Like, we don't need to mention too much more. Can't really go much farther from there unless you want to get into like tuatara, but that's for another time. Not really, because I don't know that much about the tuatara. Anyway, what you call it? For turtles, I would suggest a person who has money and space. I say that because turtles usually require, turtles do require some form of an aquarium. They live in water. Well, they're semi-aquatic, so they live half water, half land. Pretty much, you're going to have to build an enclosure for them, like a basking spot for them. You're going to want to provide them with a lot of water space, because the requirements on turtles is crazy. Like they're always needing like a lot of water. They're very, very greedy animals. They always want food. You're gonna have to buy them food pellets. They're gonna need lighting. Turtles are just one of those animals where you're gonna need a lot of money to start them off at the very least. And when you're dealing with anything in the water, you got to keep that water clean. Now, if you're someone who doesn't really care to interact with your animal too much, turtles. Turtles are mostly going to be spending time in the water, or basking. They're going to be swimming or basking. In neither of those situations do they need nor care about you. It sounds very mean, but that's the truth. Turtles have a tendency, now I'm doing it with the turtles. Turtles have a tendency to not care about the owner, to be completely honest with you. Like, turtles, if you put your finger on the glass of a turtle tank, I guarantee you they're going to try to take your finger. And it's really because your finger looks like food. They're opportunistic eaters, so when they see something, they try to take it. But they're not a very affectionate animal. They're not really there for you. They're kind of there for them. So you don't have to pay a lot of attention to a turtle. If you're someone with very little time, a turtle. You just need that money to be able to start them up and keep them going. As long as you remember to feed them and everything, you'll be fine. I'm not getting the turtles. I'm just they're in the water. Okay. So, I think that's about it for today's video. If you guys want me to specify a little bit more, I can specify a little bit more. But I wanted to kind of keep this video vague, if that makes any sense, just so you guys know what what's the. I had a brain fart. Oh my goodness. Just so you guys know what kind of reptile to get for yourself or for someone else, based off of the least bit of personality information you have. Yeah. So that's going to be it for today. If you made it this far, you like something, so be sure to like the video. Make sure you subscribe as well. Join the family, so this way you can see more of me, more of JP, more of the turtles, more of AJ, the leopard gecko. Yeah. I think that's about it for today, actually. I can talk for a millennia, which is why it kind of feels like it shouldn't be over for me, but I don't think you guys want to listen to me for a millennia. So, on that note, I'm going to let you guys go. Thanks again for watching. Have a good day.